Joshua 7 through 10. I counted 89 times between Genesis 12 and Joshua 7 that God tells someone, Abraham or some other person in the story, that he has, quote, given them the land of Canaan. Well, here is that time now that we're going to see Israel get the land. But just like loyalty, sometimes you get to, when you're a loyal person, you get just to sit and sip a cup of coffee and watch the sunset. Other times you got to put on your work shirt and do something because of your loyalty. Well, here is the latter. And so this is a time like in 1:6, Joshua 1:6. This is a time to be strong and resolute. And so let's watch what Joshua does. They have conquered the city of Jericho on the western side of the Jordan River. Joshua next sets his attention at Ai. The reason he does this is because Ai is part of the main north-south ridge route. The hills form a ridge here. Deuteronomy 11:11 says that Israel is a land of, quote, hills and valleys. Now that seemingly throwaway statement is not throwaway at all. It's a strong warning to Joshua and the leadership of Israel that you're coming into a land that you've never seen before. Egypt is not like this, where every movement you make is based on where the hill is or where the valley is. So through a ruse, Joshua coaxes the military people out of Ai and comes in behind the city and destroys it. So that's a story that's in Joshua as a chapter 7. And that's after, of course, the first time they went into Ai, they were defeated. Joshua asked God why, and it was Achan. Achan had taken from the city of Jericho a garment, some gold, and some silver that had been dedicated to God. It was not to be taken by any human, and of course Achan sinned in that and was killed. But now they have destroyed the city of Ai. They next set their sights on the city of Gibeon. The reason, again, Gibeon is next on their list is because it's, again, part of this north-south route. Well, Gibeon knows they're next, and so they're nervous. So they, again, talk about a ruse here, a military ruse. They send ambassadors down to Joshua in Jericho, and they form an alliance. They lie about where they're from, and Joshua shakes hands with them and says, well, wherever you're from, I don't know, but let's work together and form a covenant. Well, it turns out these people are from Gibeon. And so when that has been struck, that deal has been struck, the city, again, next on that ridge route is Jerusalem. And the city just south of that, Hebron. In fact, let's name the cities here. Jerusalem. First mention of that city by name in the Bible. And Lachish, or Eglon first. And then Lachish and Jarmuth. The reason I mention the cities is because these previously, at each other's throats kind of city-states, very competitive, they form an alliance. They realize that if Gibeon has made a pact with this new powerful army that's stationed out near Jericho, that they would be next. So all 5 of these cities move up the valleys and through the hills and are going to wage war against Gibeon. Well, here's where that famous call comes from Gibeon to Joshua to come up and help them. He marches all night, it says, starts early in the morning, and he gets there, we think around noon, somewhere around there, and he asks that famous statement, he asks the sun to, quote, stop. Now, we don't know if he meant, that could be stop shining or stop moving. Either way, to stop shining would have meant give us relief from the heat of the day. Stop moving would be keep us in the light so we can find the enemy. And they chase, these 5 cities are chased down again through the valleys, and they're eventually captured. The kings are eventually captured and killed. Well, a lot of historical movement there, of course, a lot of war. What's the main point? Well, the land now, and this is how chapter 10 ends, the land has been successfully divided north to south. They own the South because of what God has done in bringing, instead of these individual wars, these nations or these city-states all came up, and God was able to, with Joshua, defeat all of them at one time. The tone of this portion of the Bible or of this story is very positive. Again, sometimes loyalty lets you relax. Other times, like this, loyalty expects you to get to work. And this is certainly a time where Israel is showing their loyalty in terms of being resolute. And lastly, if there's any lesson here, of course, it's that God can say, I have given you the land. And he did, again, many times before this. But that doesn't mean that, of course, we get to sit back. It means, this is how I see it, and I remember these days, even in school, where I pray over the typewriter, God, I need to write a paper for tomorrow. And I open my eyes and the paper is still blank, right? Sometimes where we show our greatest loyalty to God, when the whole thing is over, and that would be here in these stories especially, we notice in retrospect that God has been doing the work for us, as it were. And it's a great lesson to take from this moment.